Okay, it's Wednesday. Wednesday is such an interesting day. No kidding. It's a hot Wednesday. It's a Wednesday in the middle of the week. It's a Wednesday where we have some very interesting shows. And it's not that we began with this show, but this show is sort of the way my Wednesday begins, and that is life in the law. So Miriah Holden is here with us today. Hi, Miriah.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Thanks for coming down. Have you done this before?
No, I have not.
Okay, well, trial by sucre, which means sweetness.
Yeah.
Anyway, so you're a lawyer, and that's always interesting in life and the law, but you're an unusual lawyer. You're not the ordinary kind of lawyer.
I guess you
Can I
could call
say
it
that
that.
without
Sure.
getting in trouble?
Yeah.
You know? Where did you go to law school?
William S. Richardson School of Law, class of 2008.
2008. So you were already getting on there. So why did you go to law school?
For me, it's always been, I've had a passion for kids and working with kids and representing kids who don't have a voice under the law. Part of it comes from my background and personal experiences, and so I wanted to go to law school to be able to help kids.
There's lots of other ways to help kids.
There are, but I found
So
that
this is a unique way. Why law school as opposed to, hundreds of safety net organizations around town?
I also like to argue and thought that this was would be a good way for me to use that. But advocacy rights for the children, because there are things that, like in foster care, if there's not somebody there working for the kid, like as a guardian ad litem, which is what I do, they can fall through the cracks. And I want to make sure that the kids that I represent have somebody out there advocating for them on their best interests.
Can you give me a little more about the comment you made about personal experiences?
As a kid, my parents drank, and there were certain issues with my biological father and things like that that affected me in a way that has made me who I am today. But going through that, I've always wanted to help kids to make sure that they don't have to go through those types of things. And if they do, make sure that they have someone there for them to help them through that.
So if I do the math, you made this decision sometime prior to 2005.
Yes.
And here we are, it's 10 years ago. Are you as committed to that notion today as you were then?
I think so. Since 2000, I think it was 10, I started volunteering through legal aid as a guardian ad litem, and since then I've consistently held 2 cases open, and that's either one child or the largest I've had is 7 children per case. So I'm at one time at least representing 2 different children in 2 different cases.
7 children per case means 7 children in the same family, or?
Correct.
Oh,
Yeah.
big family.
So I had at one time I was representing 11 kids. There was 4 in one home and 7 in a different. Right now I'm only representing 2 children, 2 separate cases.
Okay, but I want to take off on that track a little. We'll come back to all the other things you do. But
Okay.
the thing about the children, when I first saw your mini bio, I said, gee, how can you actually make a living doing that? Children in trouble, they usually have trust funds.
Right.
Or independent wealth.
Yeah.
So who pays your fees at the state?
Nobody. I do this pro bono for free. I volunteer through legal aid, and my time is free, and my firm is very supportive of that and giving back to the community.
I'll say.
Yeah.
That's Alston Hunt.
Yeah.
And hats off to them for letting you do this, in a law practice downtown on Bishop Street, where somebody has to pay the rent.
Right.
And salary for that
Correct.
matter.
Yeah.
So this is their way of paying back. This is their way of doing community service. Yeah.
It's one of the many things that my firm does to give back to the community. Yeah.
And you knew that when you went in?
Yes, I did. That was one of the things that we had discussed, and they were fully supportive of it, which I was greatly appreciative for.
Yeah, I think we should all be greatly appreciative that they can launch you this way, because you're not just an ordinary person in a social safety net organization. You're a lawyer, and that gives you a little extra leverage in terms of dealing with legal issues.
Right.
So what is it like to represent guardian ad litem beneficiaries?
To represent the kids as a guardian ad litem, for me it's very fulfilling, because I get to see kids from the start, the situation that they're in, and be able to grow and hopefully at the end reunite with their parents. Sometimes that doesn't always happen, and we have to find an adopted family or things like that, but being able to help them through those steps. Like I have a high school child right now, and I've been representing her since I believe her freshman year. And so seeing her grow over the years, mature, and the family that we've been able to find and reunite her with has been an amazing experience to see a child be able to meet her dad, who she didn't even know was around.
What is it like? I mean, are you like a social worker? Maybe a social worker with clout. You can go and say hi, and are you behaving yourself, and can I help you lead a better life and stay out of trouble? Or is it more specific issues than that?
So I represent the best interest of the child. So I'm looking at all different issues and aspects for the child with respect to visitation. Is it in their best interest? Reuniting, what steps do we need to take? If there's I work alongside the social worker. Social worker is on behalf of the state because they brought the case for whatever reason, because there was harm or negligence for the parents.
It gets into the system by way of the social worker.
Correct. Yeah. And so I'm there to represent the child.
Okay, what does that mean in terms of, you mentioned before that you came from court today and all. I don't know if you came from court on a guardian issue.
I did, actually.
Did you really? Oh,
yeah.
Wow. So give us, without names or anything, but give us an idea of what kind of matter, what kind of, advocacy you would be doing in court in the role of guardian ad litem.
Well, today's case was just whether or not the parents were willing to stipulate to jurisdiction, and they weren't, so we've set it for trial as to whether or not the petition should be adjudicated, meaning did the state have enough information to actually bring this petition to bring the child into foster custody. And so my job is to, one of the things that I noticed is that based on circumstances of this case, that a full body skeleton exam should have been done for the child. And so I worked with the social worker
to see if there was injury.
Correct, because there was another child involved, and so I wanted to make sure that my child that I represent, that we can make sure that one way or the other, there has been harm or not, whatever the skeletal exam comes out with. So I worked with the social worker, they got that taken care of, and tomorrow I believe there's a follow-up on that particular issue. So
you must get emotionally involved in this. I would say, gee, it looks like there's a possibility anyway that somebody beating up on this kid.
Yeah.
And that's intolerable.
Yeah. It's a fine line of getting emotionally involved but being protective of your client.
Yeah, but your client is the one you care about in any of it.
Yeah. And so for my clients, I know sometimes for the state it's difficult for visitation to occur on a frequent basis. And for me, I find that it's important, regardless of what's happened in the case, that children should be able to see their parents, especially at a younger age, so they don't have detachment issues. And so sometimes, under certain circumstances, I'll volunteer as a supervisor to supervise a visit so that the child gets more than just the one time a week. And so in this particular case, I've done Saturday visits so that they can go play at a park just with their parents and spend time with parents.
So you're sort of setting it up as like a family court judge, I suppose. You're making the kinds of analysis that a family court judge would make to examine their lives and see what their conduct might be like in a given set of circumstances, and making sure that nobody at the governmental level is going to be embarrassed with a failure of the system to protect the child.
Yeah, I'm one of the pieces to that team to figure that out, yeah.
Yeah. So, I always say, and I haven't been wrong yet, I never met a social worker I didn't like, and I haven't met a psychologist I didn't like either. Maybe I haven't met enough of them. But I think I would add to that, I haven't met a guardian ad litem I didn't like either, except in the movies where they sometimes paint them bad. But well, how did you get to be a guardian ad litem with all these, the issues, these sociological and psychological and community issues? It's not easy to make the right choice. It's not easy to see into the hearts of the people around. How did you study that? How did you learn that?
Actually, in law school, Kimura had a clinic I believe it was called the Family Law Clinic, and we were able to work with various attorneys in town, and I got assigned to Terrence Tom, and so I got to be his eyes through his process as a guardian ad litem, and through that, he was a great mentor, and that's really what got me interested in it. And then once I got myself practicing for a couple of years and kind of got the hang of things, I took the training through legal aid, which was, I believe, a 4-hour training, and then now Daniel Pollard serves as a supervisor for legal aid if there's questions and things like that for those types of cases.
So if I walked up and down Bishop Street all day long, I mean, maybe I don't walk up and down Bishop Street enough, but these days, but I don't think I know or find anybody like you doing this. Is there anybody else doing this?
Guardian ad litem work?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a few attorneys that volunteer through legal aid.
On the same basis?
I think so.
For free?
I think so.
For the community, for the children?
I think so. Legal aid's for free as well. I mean, they may get some sort of contract through the state, but they do have other attorneys, not just myself, that volunteer with them as pro bono attorneys.
You know that Paul Alston was originally with legal aid?
Yeah.
You knew that?
Yeah.
Okay. It must define him somehow even many years later. Okay, well, that's, so now, you know, that's just one thing though. So now I suppose that for the rest of your time is billable, and you do corporate reorganizations under section 301 AC, B, L, M, and OP.
Right. No. I'm a litigator. I do all different areas of law. I do collections, foreclosures, real estate transactions, business litigation, and adult guardianships. So kind of a good variety that keeps it
Variety
interesting. Yeah.
That's an understatement. Variety.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Very broad practice for sure.
Which one do you like better?
You know, I actually like cases where there's mediation, negotiation involved, and a lot of that has to do with collections and things like that. Just being able to work it out so both parties are able to come to a resolution and not put somebody into bankruptcy, which is always the ultimate goal.
I think I got it. I want to say it before we take a break. That is, what you learn in the left brain, you can use in the right brain. And that humanity, at the core of it, is kind of all the same.
Okay. Sure.
You know, I might plug more on that issue after we come back from the break. That's Miriah Holden. She's with Alston Hunt. She's a lawyer in two different worlds, all at the same time. In fact, I think there's more than two. And when we come back, we'll investigate all the others. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Ethan Allen. I'm the host of Likeable Science on ThinkTech Hawaii. We talk about why people should like science, why science is actually fun, how science is a dynamic and vital part of everyone's life, why everyone, every man, woman, and child on the planet should really know science, should love science, should be familiar with science. So it's a great show. People come on here and have interesting conversations with us. They tell us why they do what they do, why they love it, why we should love it too. I hope you'll join us every Friday, 1 to 2 p.m. And of course, you can see it anytime on YouTube. Aloha.
Aloha, my name is Josh Green. I host a show called Healthcare in Hawaii here on ThinkTech. We get together once a week or sometimes twice a month. Depends when we're busy. We get together less often, but we love to see you here to talk about the preeminent healthcare issues in our state. Our programs vary very widely. We talk about economics, we talk about healthcare, we talk about social issues on this program. Thanks for joining us.
Okay, we're back, we're live, we're here. We're still here with Miriah Holden. And Miriah, you may have thought that I was going to forget where we left it off, but I didn't. So the question is, what you learn with these kids. You know, I'll give you one parallel from my life. Okay? You know, at some point late in life, I got involved in furry animals, dogs.
Okay.
And I had, you know, when I was a kid, my parents wouldn't let me have them. I was an apartment dweller in New York. Nobody does that. But late in life, I got involved. And then I realized that the dogs are mammals, and so are people. So you can learn a lot about people from dogs. Incredible. We could have show after show after show about it, but I don't think you want to hear that. The question is whether what you learn in dealing with those kids in the guardian ad litem, practice is useful in the corporate practice, in the litigation, in the mediation practice, and vice versa. You kind of panned on my question before, but I wonder if there's anything there.
Of course, I think you can learn from all experiences, but I don't find myself in any mediation
What do you think about
situations, but
kids?
it's more of a, for the kids, when I'm advocating for the kids, it's basically making sure and fighting for what they're entitled to and what their rights are, right? And so that passion is there. Now, taking that to my corporate clients, yes, that would be me zealously advocating for my clients as well, but it would be for different reasons and different end results, so to speak. But yeah, definitely.
Okay. I mean, as your career unfolds, we'll talk about the rest of it in a minute. Do you think you'll migrate this way or that way?
Kids versus corporate? I actually like what I have now with the
You like the diversity of it?
Yes, I do. I like the diversity of corporate, and I like being able to give back to the community by way of representing
One
kids.
goes with the other.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, let's go to more now. So
Okay.
somehow along the way, in the space of 7 years, you got to be the chief honcho at YLD.
Chief honcho, that's interesting. But
Okay.
that came because nobody else ran, and so everybody said run, and so I ran, and so by default, I ended up being the president.
Why did they ask you to run?
Because I had been on the board for a couple of years, and
Okay.
so last year I ended up stepping in for the president. He had to step down due to his schedule and things, so I've been president since August 2014, and I'll finish up in December of 2015.
Okay.
So I got a few months left.
What do you think of it?
It's a lot of work, a lot of hours put in with planning projects, CLE programming. One of the things that we made a goal was to give back to our members, because we do a lot of service projects, ask for a lot of volunteers, but we weren't providing anything for our members. And so our goal was to at least provide 3 CLE type programs this year for our young lawyers. And I think we will exceed that goal by the end of the year. We've done a financial planning 101. We're going to be doing a debt 101 with the law school, I guess with the providers for student loans, and helping young lawyers figure out how to deal with the student
Personal
loans.
finance.
Yeah. And then on Friday, we're co-sponsoring a disaster assistance relief training center with legal aid. So they're going to train attorneys on, if there's a disaster in Hawaii, how can attorneys help, and go over various issues like maritime law, consumer protection, things like that. And that'll get 2 CLE credits for free. And then in September, I think also in August, we're doing a Making the Record Clear for young attorneys as to going into court and what things can be done to assist with making the record clear when in court, so that when you get a transcript back, it's not ambiguous as to what you're talking about.
Record clear, meaning, what does that mean?
We got feedback from the senior counsel division that young attorneys, when trying to make the record, they don't reference exhibits correctly, or they say this, that, and don't reference page number, line number, things like that. So we have a panel of attorneys that have been in practice much longer than we have that are going to give us some pointers and tips.
Okay, these problems never happen with the older
No,
attorneys.
never.
Never. So when you cross the line out of YLD,
It's
doesn't
never a
happen
problem,
to you anymore.
right?
Isn't that wonderful? It must
Yeah.
be sort of chemical kind of thing.
Yeah. And then I think we've got, in September, we're going to do sitting on a nonprofit board.
Oh,
And
very valuable.
Yeah.
On multiple levels, very valuable.
Yeah.
That's a good, was that your idea?
No, actually, that was Brent Takisako's idea. He's one of our new board members this year, and he does a lot of work with nonprofits. And so he took the ball and ran with it, and it should be a good program.
So YLD sounds very active these days, more active than it was in my day, actually.
I like to think so.
Yeah, well, of course. Nice work. What other project, any other projects, or have you named them all?
So upcoming for service projects, we have junior judges, which is going to be in October, and what that focuses on is taking video that we're actually having redone right now into the classrooms, 3rd to 5th grade, going over bullying, stealing, cheating, and making good decisions, and why you shouldn't do those things, but if you do, how to respond to them, and if somebody's done that to you, how you can rectify the situation. And we get volunteer attorneys to go into the classroom and work with the kids. And then in September...
Can I stop you on that?
Sure.
Hold the thought about September.
Okay.
How do you, quote, take video? We're interested in video. How do you take video into the classroom? I mean, what does that mean?
So right now we're working with the I believe it's Nanakuli Performing Arts Youth Center. They're videoing screenshots of the various topics. and then we put it on a DVD, and then it goes into the classroom. And if they don't have that capability, the intent is to put it online so that we can stream it from online to the kids with the attorney in the classroom.
So the kids are making the video?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, I love that.
High school
This is really
kids, and then
important.
there's actually some elementary kids that are part of the program as well. We haven't seen the final cut yet. They're actually still working on it, but.
Video also means money, though. How do you do that part?
For this year, we were able to, with our small budget that we had, we basically gave half of our budget to them to complete it. It was a very small amount, but yeah, we gave them, I think it was $1,000 to help with the program, but yeah.
Yeah, that's fabulous.
Yeah.
What selflessness.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, September. What happens in September?
In the month of September, we have what's called Project Street Youth, and this is the American Bar Association's project of the year, and the focus is helping homeless kids.
Why don't you just call it homeless?
It's the title
Okay,
the
okay,
ABA
find
gave
another
it.
words.
I
Otherwise,
didn't choose it.
people sort of, they zone. Anyway, go ahead.
So we're doing, I believe we've scheduled September 5th out in Waianae to do here on Oahu, and then the neighbor islands will select various dates in September to do it on their islands. But the focus is looking for ways to help kids that maybe need their birth certificate. They don't know how to get a copy of it, or they have a citation that they don't know how to handle, or they need a copy of their social security card. We just want to help them fill out forms, get them into the right hands of people, because oftentimes the focus is on the parents, but what about the kids? And so our goal is to help the kids through this project.
What's happening with those two kids who beat up on Representative Brower?
I have no idea.
Oh, okay. It was something in the paper. One was 14, one was 17, and they could be treated differently for some reason. I don't know exactly, but I think you don't realize that the kids are a big part of homelessness as
They are.
victims,
Mm-hmm.
and they got to be attended to. I had a call from a homeless person yesterday. I'm not kidding you.
Really?
Yeah, because we did a little commentary not too long ago about these barbs that the city is putting on benches so they can't sleep on the benches, and that really offended me. So I made a commentary about it, and somehow this homeless person saw the commentary and thought I was simpatico. So she called me up and she said, "What's your advice to the homeless? How are you going to solve the problem?"
Right.
It's not so easy. But I told her I think the homelessness has to be represented. They have to speak. They have to find, systems, and have to explain to people what it's about and try to make every day better.
So you're going to represent them pro bono?
No, I could give them advice, though. You can represent them. I'm not practicing anymore.
Oh, okay.
But I mean, what do you think the solution is? I mean, you have a small part of it here. The streets program is a small part of it. What about the solution?
A solution for homeless overall?
Yeah. I mean, when I was a kid, we didn't really have a whole lot of homeless. When I started practicing here, there were no homeless to speak of. So why can't we sort of roll it back and fix it? Why can't we do that?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't have an answer for that.
Well, here's what I told her. I told her that they had to get together, that they had to organize themselves, because nobody would care for them as much for them as they cared for them. And they, like it or not, are becoming a community over generations. Generations of homelessness. It's a different, speed than generation of the community itself. And that they could, for example, get into businesses. And they could approach the government for a special consideration in some ways and be a voice for themselves. And people who practice, for example, might help them do that. I told them I thought there were a lot of people out there who would help them do this, but it had to come from them. That's what I told her.
No, that's a start to it. I think that there's more than just gathering, because it seems to be a spiraling effect of
I agree.
more and more homeless. So I don't know if there's more programs that we can come up with that can assist people who are under these circumstances, but there's definitely something that needs to be done.
So there's a lot of programs going on. I mean, not only homeless, but all the social
Right.
safety net, and ThinkTech is exposed to a lot of them. I mean, we have one on Thursday, tomorrow, called Aloha United We Stand, and it's about the organizations that are funded by Aloha United Way. And it's getting clear that, A, we have a lot of organizations that are trying to help in the social safety net. B, the government doesn't really do much of a job in this. C, the religious organizations usually actually act by proxy. In other words, they will raise money and they will give it to one of the social safety net organizations, and they actually get out there on the front line and do stuff. But it strikes me that we live in a society where there's more of a need for that all the time. And your generation, call it the maybe millennials.
That's us.
Has a big role in that. Do you agree?
Yeah, I do.
What is the role?
I think that we're going to have to step up and get involved. Otherwise, it's not going to change. Things aren't going to change, and things aren't going to get fixed.
What happens if things don't change?
It's going to get worse.
And what happens if I mean, as a lawyer, right, you're kind of the steward of the community. Collectively, lawyers are, in my view, the stewards of the community. They have the power, or could have the power. So what can lawyers do?
Policies, I think that they can help with, working with the legislators and representatives, and coming up with acts, bills, things like that, that can benefit, I guess, the homeless, if that, or other issues that come our way.
Yeah, millennial lawyers. I mean, really, I always tell the millennials this is their time, and that they have to wake to a political consciousness. A lot of them haven't. You know, they're just not into it yet. They might be. People on the mainland, people here and on the mainland say that this will happen, but I've yet to see it. On the other hand, lawyers know more about the connection of the legal structures and the policy, and you can do more. So the burden, I think, in some ways, is greater on you. So I guess what I hear is that just as you want to run this kind of diverse practice, this two-handed or two-fisted practice, so every lawyer, in your view, should do that, right?
No.
No.
No, I
Well,
wouldn't. That's what works for me, and that's what I enjoy doing. And there are people who specialize in an area of law, and that's all they do, and that's what works for them. But for me, I like the variety, and I like working with kids, and so I've just made it work, and I really enjoy what I do.
But don't you think that every lawyer should do some kind of pro bono? I mean, forget the rules for a minute. Every lawyer should be committed to some kind of pro bono, just because of the nature of the profession.
I do. I think that attorneys should give back in some form or fashion, whether it's nonprofit work or representing kids or taking on cases where clients can't afford to pay. I mean, I do think that pro bono should be a part of everyone's practice.
Okay. So actually, now that I think about this, 3 parts. So one is the straight practice, making a buck and doing what you have to do to advance the interests of your business clients. Second is this social safety net kind of thing that you're doing. But the third is to the profession itself. And right after this break, we're going to come back and talk about your thoughts on the third area, the third leg of the stool, if you want.
Okay.
We're going to talk about what you're doing for the profession, even as a millennial.
Okay.
And maybe millennial. Okay, that's Miriah Holden. She's with Alston Hunt, an associate, not yet a partner. Huh?
No, associate.
Well, you know, it could be
Associate.
possible. We'll be checking back with you on life in the law here on a given Wednesday, and how to be good and also make money. Is that the title of our show?
I think you created that title. I don't know about that.
We're still working on the title. We'll be back in a minute.
Hi, I'm Chris Leatham, and I'd like to invite you to come and watch my show every Wednesday at 3. I'm interested in a variety of issues that have to do with politics and our local business economy. And I'd like to bring on guests who like to talk about everything from technology to social media to what we can be doing to improve our environment. And so I'd like to invite you every Wednesday at 3 to stay and watch my show here with ThinkTech Hawaii. And I'll see you there.
Aloha, my name is PJ and I'm the host of Hawaii Sports Update. I am very interested in local sports, and that's why I host the Hawaii Sports Update Show. I bring in guests from Hawaii, I bring in guests from UH, I bring in guests from the community, I bring in big names, I bring in small names, I bring in all names that are community related and doing positive things, sports related in the community. Come join me every Tuesday at 1 p.m. here on Hawaii Sports Update. You can also join me on my golf tournament, the first annual PJ Sports Radio Show golf tournament. It's going to be held at Coral Creek. For any information, go to ThinkTech Hawaii, INC, and friend us. The PayPal and a summary of the event will be right there available for you. And don't forget to tweet us.
Okay, we're back, we're live, we're here in Life and the Law, and you forgot something. You forgot to tweet us your thoughts, questions, comments, okay? And you can do that here on ThinkTech. Just tweet us at ThinkTechHI, at ThinkTechHI, okay? And we'll actually read that because we have a big screen here that just catches the feed. So, talking about professional stuff, you know, I can't say that I've been active in professional stuff, advancing the interest of the profession, like, for example, the Bar Association. And, for example, the ABA, although I tell you, I went to an AB, what is it, Alibaba, what's that, ALI meeting.
Okay.
Back a few years ago in San Francisco, and it was terrific. It really sort of infused me with this notion of, you know, the Bar Association and the ALI, American Law Institute, was really important in the infrastructure, not only of the lawyering profession, but of the country. And so tell us about your connection with the ABA.
Well, I started in 2012 as the district representative for District 33, which is Hawaii and Alaska. So what that meant is that I represented Hawaii and Alaska at assemblies at the mid-year and annual meetings. And so that was a 2-year term, attended 4 conferences a year. And while I was in that role, I got involved with the National Conferences team, which is a team that assists with the actual programming at the conferences. And so this coming year, starting in October, I got the position of National Conferences Team Coordinator. So what I'll be doing...
The National Conference?
For the YLD, not for the ABA,
okay,
for the
okay.
ABA YLD.
Still.
So I'll be working with the conferences, programs, and products director in assisting her and with my team of finding speakers for programs, what relevant topics we can have at the conferences, and the programming that comes from our chair, Lacey Durham. So it should be a really fun year with a lot of relevant topics that'll be brought at each conference. And Lacey's project and part of what she's doing is mental health awareness for attorneys and things like that. So we're looking at getting some speakers that have, as attorneys, gone through or faced certain circumstances and situations and bounced back from it.
Yeah, sure. You know they're out there.
Yeah.
Although there's no publicity at all because it wouldn't be good. But this is also a volunteer situation?
Yeah.
Somebody volunteered you?
This one, I applied for the position and I
Okay,
got it.
all right.
And thankfully the ABA does assist with some of the funding because it's not cheap to fly from Hawaii all over the nation.
So they help you with traveling around?
They assist with some travel, yeah.
That's cool. How often are these meetings?
4 times a year. So the next one is in a couple weeks, the annual meeting in Chicago.
What do you expect there? That's nice. I'll bet you it's in a nice hotel on the lakeshore there. That'll be good.
Conferences the whole time with assembly, where we debate different issues and resolutions, and then there'll be an election for the incoming chair. This year's contested, so we'll be doing that as well.
You get to meet a lot of people.
Yeah, it's a great networking avenue, but it's also been, for me, I've met a lot of people that have become good friends, and it's also for clients that, hey, I need an attorney in Connecticut. I've got a good friend that I can pass you off to. She may not be able to help, but I know she'll know somebody that can.
Yeah, that's really long-term value.
Yeah.
And the firm likes this.
Firm is also supportive of this as well.
Yeah, that's great. How much time do you put into it? And aside from the conference time, is it the kind of thing where you have to work between conferences and set up for conferences?
So in my current position, there's not a lot of work lead time to the conference. Most of the work is at the conference. Coming in as the coordinator, I think it'll be probably 15 to 20 hours a month of assisting the products coordinator with helping with speakers and stuff like that.
So what kind of subjects, you mentioned, what was it, a minute ago, one of the subjects you might, impaired lawyers and all that is one of the subjects. What other kinds of subjects would you suggest to them for conference material?
So it actually comes from across the nation. People put in proposals and then they review the proposals and choose from what's been given. I'm gonna help with, once it's been chosen, who should speak if they don't have speakers lined up. So I'm not suggesting the topics, but there's a wide variety. I know at the last conference we had a panel of in-house counsel for professional sports teams and the life in-house counsel for an athletic team. They've done the issue with Ferguson. They've had panel members come in and talk about those issues and things like that. So it's not your typical litigation 101 or, financial, like how we have here financial planning 101, things like that. They try to find really relevant issues that we're all being affected by.
Is this a sea change in the ABA, that they're trying to find relevant issues like Ferguson?
Ever since I've been involved with the ABA for the Young Lawyers Division, I found that the topics have been relevant. I haven't seen it be regimented as, it may be for other areas, but the YLD has always been pretty good about finding relevant topics for its programming.
Yeah, I remember, I think things at least have changed since my time. But I remember at that ALI meeting I mentioned, there was a seminar by a guy teaching at Columbia, and his specialty, and I'm sure we could go to Google right now and find him in a minute, his specialty was the law of torture.
Interesting.
That's what he specialized in, and I mean, he was well known for it, so forth. And at the time, this was in the days of waterboarding and like that. At the time, it was completely relevant to what was in the newspaper. It was a national issue, and here this guy was teaching it, and students were flocking to his classes.
It sounds interesting.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what the ABA, the YLD, tries to do, is to keep it interesting and get people to show up to the conferences and the seminars.
Yeah, my brother and his wife, they teach a course in Guantanamo.
Oh.
The law of Guantanamo. It may not be relevant forever, but for now it's still quite relevant.
Yeah.
And I think, and I would say that the William S. Richardson School of Law is also into relevance, don't you think?
Yeah.
It's not stuck in the mud anywhere. It's really connecting.
I agree with that. Yeah.
So where does this take the Bar Association as an institution, as the professional lawyer leadership of the country, which, as discussed, is a major part of the power infrastructure of the country, directly or indirectly. Where does it take the Bar Association? Where do you want to see the Bar Association going?
For the HSBA? I think.
No, the ABA.
ABA, I think that it's one of the vehicles to move the profession forward with working with young lawyers and creating leaders that are going to do great things that the big bar or the overall ABA does. And I think that applies also to the HSBA, is that we've got a lot of great young lawyers that are very active and are very passionate about the projects that they're involved in, and to see that they're adding value to the HSBA and the projects that they're giving back to the community, but they're also providing resources for young lawyers at the same time.
Yeah. Well, where are you going with all of this? I mean, you have an extraordinary career going. You're out of school 7 years. It's not a long time in the fullness of things. Where do you see your career going? I mean, it's almost like you've done everything already.
I enjoy what I do. I love the firm that I work for, and I hope to continue to be doing what I'm doing in the next 10 years of doing corporate litigation and some transactional work, and then still being able to represent kids.
But where is it at the end? You want to be a judge?
I haven't thought that far
Be a
ahead.
mediator?
I could do mediation,
Yeah.
but still litigate.
What about the family court? Does that appeal to you?
Sitting and waiting for hearings? No, it does not appeal to me at all. I don't like waiting for hearings out there. Yeah. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah.
No, I don't like waiting for hearings out there. I don't have to go very often, though. Maybe 8 times a year, 10 times a year, because my cases usually will get put together, but yeah.
Okay, so what are your expectations for the young lawyers? In fact, let me put it this way. What are your expectations for the Bar Association here? You know, it's been what it's been. It's been, it's done some things, but nothing really remarkable. Remarkable, I suppose you could say, is we had our Living Legend Lawyers series.
Which is through ThinkTech, right? And I hear.
Which is right here at this
Yeah.
table, yeah. But, you know, what would you, in your career horizon, what would you expect from the Bar Association? What would you expect, you know, from the whole thing, the whole enchilada, not just the young lawyers, but everybody? What do you expect?
To provide value and services to the attorneys as members. And there's a combination of, again, giving back, but also providing for our members and not just expecting to give, but to also receive. And I think that goes through the programming, and I think the HSBA has done a great job this year with I think it's quarterly that they've done. I've seen them come through of kind of 101 series about real property, the PUC, things like that. I think those are relevant and they're good, quick and dirty kind of seminars that people, I don't know anything about it, I want to learn about it, and they can go and at least get, 1 hour.
So broaden the CLE.
Yeah.
More CLE.
I would like to see that. I don't know if other members would like to see that, but I like the idea of being able to provide CLEs at a reasonable cost so that you're not having to go through other companies and spending hundreds of dollars to get your 3 CLE credits a year.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, would you favor local lawyers doing the teaching in CLE
Most
rather
definitely.
than? Yeah.
Most definitely. I think it's a good way for attorneys also to get their names out there. It's good networking, and it allows other attorneys to get to know people within those areas of practice so that you have somebody that you can go to and ask questions if needed.
And I guess inherent in this discussion, we're almost out of time, but inherent in this discussion is that you'd like to see the Bar Association become, if it isn't already, more active in the shaping of policy in government structures such as the legislature and regulatory agencies.
I don't know if the bar should be getting involved with government policy because the bar represents a very large number of attorneys, and you're not going to be able to get all attorneys to be right. So I don't necessarily think that the HSBA should be getting involved in taking positions.
Touche for
Yeah.
that. Good point.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Miriah Holden of Alston Hunt, an unusual lawyer, may I say. Okay, here
Sure.
on Life and the Law on Wednesday, and we haven't established a title for the program, so you'll just have to make your own title up. Maybe we'll think of something later. Maybe you'll come back. Thank you, Miriah.
Thank you.